Good evening. This is Elizabeth Diamond with the special Diamondsforever31 show here on the evening of October 27th, 2014. I thought it important to do this show today, and I'll be playing some audios, and I'll paint a really cool picture. So first of all, I want to just talk about James Fu. He's an energy worker. He's very awesome. And I want to talk about what he talked about, a tool for us to use on the energy waves that started coming in September 21st and through these next 3 months. And so on October 19th was the Energy Wave Conference Part 2 that was held in Canada. And that is reference number 171 and 172 on the Diamonds line, recorded line. So if you want to listen to the whole thing, and if there's breaks in between, you can press 2 to fast forward. Just keep pressing 2. And then, so that's 171, 172. Within that, there's some activations, 2, and clearings from Franco and James. But this one tool is very extraordinary. It's awesome. I did it myself. And it's actually just how to ignite your energy body more and your third eye. And when I did it the other night, I had my eyes closed and I seen this beautiful tunnel. I felt peace. It was just awesome. So, and you would want to use this tool if you have any questions that are inside your head, any situations, any blockages, you know, like why am I not getting that job, for instance, or questions as you're researching in the intel world, what all the world changes going on, and within yourself, basically in your unique self, as your journey goes on, any kind of question you have, and you really want the answer, you can start the car, your energy body up, and rev it up, and you could get that answer. You know, it's kind of like a meditation tool. So, and these are number frequencies, hertz frequencies that will awaken, will just rev up your energy body more and your energy around you. And these numbers are codes. So the first thing you want to do is just lay down, relax. And what I did is I drew a diagram of this so I can remember, and I pretty much have it memorized now. So draw a diagram of a man, you know, with a head and a midsection, legs, arms, and put a belly button and 2 eyes on there. So the first spot would be your message center. That's in the middle above, like in your sternum area. And so what you would do is just call out 528, 528. And you can feel that energy moving in your sternum, and you can feel it as you're saying it move up from your sternum and all through your body. So say that as much as you want, and you can feel that. That'll start again in the message center. Then the next number you would go to is 852, 852. And that is up there, that energy revs up in your head by your third eye. Your third eye is above your eyes and between your eyebrows and up just a little bit right there. So as you say 852, pay attention. You can feel that energy rolling in your head. And then as you continue to say 852, it goes throughout your body. And you want to do this and not move and have your eyes closed as you're doing it once you get it memorized. You know, lay down, get in a comfortable place, sit down or whatever. And then after you say 528 and then 852, the next energy spot in your body is 3 finger widths below your belly button. And that number is 285, 285. And you should feel the energy start there and build up all through your body. So again, the message center in the middle of your sternum, you would say 528 and let it go all through your body. You should feel it starting there. And then you say 8, so that's 528. And then you say 852, that's up in your head by your third eye. You feel that energy there and move throughout your body. And then the third one would be 285, where you'll feel it starting 3 fingers below your belly button and moving throughout your body, 285. So let me just reiterate again, the 528 in the message center by your sternum is actually, called, just say it's the headlight of the car, our car. And the third eye area up in your head, 852, is the driver's seat. And then the 285 below your belly button is like the battery of the car. And that's where the Kundalini is. So you have all those energies going and revved up in your body after you say those frequencies, and say them in order. The 528 first, the 852 next, and the 285 after that. So then there's another number after you're done with that, and this is where it gets good. It ignites all that energy and meshes it together and just revs it up. And that number is called the ignition key. That's what James Fu called it, the ignition key of the car. Remember, the 528 is the headlight, the 852 is the driver's seat, and the 285 is the battery. So the ignition key then, after you have all those energies going, would be 3396, 3396, 3396. And meanwhile, you're in a relaxed position, not moving very much, and have your eyes closed. And then I just relaxed, and oh my God, you could see a tunnel. You can see a tunnel. And it just twirls. And that's the energy. You're seeing energy of you. And another thing he said you could do is you could say the 528, 528, open heart. It opens your heart. And then, you feel it really revving up. And then when I'm finished, what I think I heard him say, when you're finished, just relaxing and meditating. And then if you have a question or something, you can ask that after you rev up your car, your body, and turn on the key. Then in your mind or out loud if you want, or both, you can ask the question that you have, all the questions you have, or one question at a time or several, whatever. So when you're done, then you just say normalize. And that energy, your energy will just normalize through your body. And that is the awesome tool that's in the Wave Part 2 held on October 19th that I wanted to share with you. And if you want to have more activations by Franco, which were awesome, that's in, he does one on 171 and 172. Those reference numbers for the Diamonds recorded line, 209-255-1099, and then PIN 883267#, and then reference 171 pound, and then reference 172 pound. The next thing I want to do is Franco De Nicola, which we've had several on the Diamonds call, was on another show. That was C.J. Miller's show, and we're going to have her on as a guest here coming up on October when is that? November 8th. So thank you for an awesome show, C.J. Miller. And I just want to play some excerpts out of there, and they're not too long. One has to do with what the ego really is, and then there's a 2-minute little talkie, Franco says. And then the other excerpt I really want to is regarding the Akashic records. And he explains what those are if you don't know what that is, and it's really good news. So, and you can learn a little bit about yourself. So let me start that out, and you may hear a pause when I'm finished with the ego to get to the next one, and a couple pauses. So let me start it. Here we go. When we were coming back from the event, that whole idea of like your higher, and I think of it as like the higher self, which I guess is just the soul, is asking for that. Even if your ego mind is trying to stay in a situation, and then somebody else will end up breaking up with you, and you'll be kind of surprised, but even though you know that it's you that really was asking for it, or that you both made an agreement. And I think that's the blessing in this information that you provide for us, this perspective, Franco, is that nothing is really so bad at all, ever. It's like you can't even be mad at the person who leaves you or hurts you in some way because you did ask for it. Mm-hmm. So
exactly, and you have no experience that's never whatever for your highest good, or that you've, agreed at some level or not, and even the resistance part or not. The only time you're going to see people reacting and saying, to react towards this, or may give you alternate information and saying, look at what happened, you got in this and that with the soul or whatever it is, are the ones that are still, operating in a state where they see polarity, or that something is violated or something happens against your will. This is a message that I've been sharing all the time, not to get so caught up in the whole idea that something happens against your will, because nothing happens against your will. It may be against the operating basic system of the ego mind saying, well, I don't want no change, I want no change, I want to stick to this, I want to stick to this. So it may seem that it's gone against that, but from your pure essence of who you are in that journey, nothing is thrown at you or imposed on you, or, taking control, even if it takes a form that, at the mind level say, well, that was a horrible experience. That still was something that you agreed upon, you activated upon, you gave instructions upon, you were totally engaged in it. It wasn't something that happens to you. So you can't be violated. You're just playing a role that may look that way, because that's what you said, I need this part of it to help me make a shift. When you understand that, you embrace it. Every opportunity of anything that happens in your life moves through you a lot quicker. You gain what you need to gain a lot more efficiently. You enjoy the ride, and it's not this whole thing of being violated. I don't care if somebody gets raped. And I'm not saying this in a light fashion, but I know, yeah. And it's not that you did something wrong to experience it, or that, you need to say, well, this was a horrible thing. Yeah, it may look that way, but it was something that you orchestrated and gave permission to happen that way. I know this is mind-bending. This kind of really pushes people to the max, because the minds will say, no way, I was violated. No, you had something that represented violation, but in essence, you not only allowed it, you orchestrated to make it come about, because there's a beautiful, powerful lesson behind it. Or it creates another intense shift in your energy so that you go even deeper down and lower, so that you can rise even higher afterwards. One way or another, there's a benefit behind it, regardless.
Right, and that is, you're right, that's a huge one to bend your mind around.
And I've had people comment back and say, you're crazy and this and that. I mean, I don't hear that much, because most people are starting to get it now. They may think it at first, but in essence, they start to realize it. And after a while, even the people that thought that, I said the most craziest thing, some 1 year, 2 years later, even weeks later or something like that, because of what was said, because it's stimulated within themselves, they start to get this higher understanding, and they can see it. I've had people that just recently had out-of-body experiences, or what they call near-death experiences, or something of that nature, or crossed over for a period of time. They come back and they go, wow, the stuff that you were saying seems to, it is. And I had somebody just recently just say the same thing just yesterday after going through an ayahuasca experience, coming in as I never got the stuff that you were telling me, and now I got to see it in full color, and I now understand what you were saying 100%, and I fully see the perfection of how there's nothing outside of you that you are not fully in charge of creating.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big pill to swallow. But I would, having had cancer many years ago now, 17 years ago, even at the time I said, this is something I created, I asked for. I mean, the significance of it being in my throat, it's my thyroid cancer. It's like a throat chakra issue, so I took it as like, what's the meaning of this? What is the meaning behind this? It's about expressing my truth. It's about being in touch with that part of my body. So, like, everything is a gift in a way, even if it's like for the ego. What I find really helps is to laugh about it. Like we say, and it's so hard to laugh about something so extreme as
like you said, being raped or something, or even we've talked about in other shows, the child who is abducted or taken away from their parents by CPS, Child Protective Services. These things are all orchestrations that our soul has agreed to take on and uses the body-mind vehicle to do the orchestration, right? I mean, so what is the ego, though? I mean, people are asking, I just want to say Scott May is listening to the show, and he's asking about the ego and wondering, is it something we're going to end up releasing or transmuting? Or, I mean, I don't see it that way. I see it as an essential part of the mind, but will our relationship to the ego change as we move into a different dimension, Franco?
Yes, I mean the ego itself is part of the mind, but it's a separate software program basically that was implanted some time ago to be used. So it's still part of the mind, but it is a separate entity, if you want to call it that. And it basically, the mind itself is looks for adventure, looks for change, looks for growth, because a mind that is active is always exploring, always discovering, always looking for something new to play with. Okay? The right brain is the creative part and the intuitive part that takes input from your soul, and it also takes input from your third eye, merges the information, and creates a reality which imposes it into the mind or the left brain, which projects it. But the mind itself is always expanding, it's always growing, it's always choosing to play at new levels. The ego mind was a software program that was implanted within it, which made it a split, fragmented mind entity that thrives on programs and thrives on the fact of keeping everything consistent. It has to have something tangible and consistent all the time, and it refers to the past all the time. So it created the polarity world. So get this. Here's your mind that wants expansion, change, wants to see much more, wants to discover more, wants to become a grander aspect of itself. Very similar to the soul. Okay? There's a lot of similarities in that way. And then the ego mind was the part that says, no, we're not going forward, we're sticking to this, this is all we know, this is what I want to do. So it created the polarity world. So you learn a lot from that polarity world. Now, of course, as we're letting go of the polarities, and we are no longer choosing to stay in the stuck repetitive state because that's the ego does that part. It says, no, we're not moving forward, this is what we know, this is what we're doing, this is who we are, and so forth, because it creates a superficial entity of yourself. It says, I am this, 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 and this. The mind doesn't say that. The mind basically, when we're looking at the mind says, okay, this is what the roles I'm playing in a way. And it sees it partially as a role anyways. And at times it sees it much grander that it's a role. The ego doesn't see it that way. It doesn't see the ego. It defines itself by it, right? Because the mind says, okay, I'm using this body. My name is this. This is the information I have. I'm going to keep digging for more information to create new stuff. The ego says, this is what I've seen. This is what I've experienced. This is what I'm going to identify myself with. So the ego will turn around and say, well, I am such and such. This is my culture. This is my religion. This is how I operate, and this is who I am. And then it creates more levels of who I am based by it, but it keeps a form of rigidity. Now, as we're evolving, of course, the ego evolves to the point where it becomes more the observer and less the dictator, and eventually it remerges itself. That software program of that design dissolves and becomes one with the mind, so it's no longer fragmented. So it's like you having a computer with a hard drive, and the hard drive now gets fragmented or split, and then one holds an opposite program and the other one holds the basic operating system. And it runs at the same time, so it launches between one and the other. But eventually you'll notice that the other one is no longer necessary. The polarity world is no longer necessary. Of course, that software program starts to change. And this is what happens to the ego. The ego, when we say that the ego gets smaller and less fragmented, it basically what it does is the parts that's no longer necessary starts to no longer function or dissolve or it gets altered, and it becomes more the observer and it merges with the mind. So that then, of course, the mind will still has a what you call a first basic form of ego, which is an identification, which is basically says, okay, I'm in a male physical body or a female physical body, and this is the path I can use bits and pieces if I want to, but that's it, and I have a name. It's very basic. The ego defines itself by its career, by its choices, by its personality, by its experiences, by its history, by its whatever. It comes up with everything under the sun. So there's many, many, many labels that the ego does. But as you are evolving, it no longer wants to identify with labels, because each label that you apply and each label it tries to stay consistent to maintain, it limits your experience. It makes you less and less explorative, less and less capable of being outside of its confines. So your world gets smaller with the ego, but as you let go of that other ego that has the labels, your world gets bigger. You get to play with more. You no longer limit yourself to the identification that's taken on. So that's kind of what happens with the ego. You're not killing it, and you never kill the ego because you're trying to kill a software program, which only creates more resistance. It's not about it. It evolves with it, and it basically becomes more the observer and loses its role that of identification and labeling and also keeping the programs, because the ego has a tendency to use as a reference all past experiences. So, for example, you want to go on a date, okay? But you've had, say, 2 or 3 bad relationships. Now, the mind will turn around and say, oh, we get to play with another person. We get to go on another date. We get to see what we can learn and experience and play with this. We're going to learn something from this. That's your mind. The ego mind says, wait a minute here. Remember those last few dates that we had or the last relationships? It was painful. It was this, it was that. It will bring up all the stuff that you had at that point, and now start to projecting it and say, well, I don't know if we should go out with this person. We got to be very cautious because look at what happened last time. And it's going to try to find any little thing to link to that past. And then it may create the fear that you're not going to go out on the date in the first place. See the difference? Now, at some point, you're going to notice you're not going to need that. You're evolving to a point where it doesn't require that anymore, so that the mind actually takes over more. And the mind, of course, is fed information from your soul and also has access to other aspects of yourself, other souls, or other aspects of yourself in non-form, and basically utilizes that to create an expanded reality. So in essence, as he becomes the observer, now the mind drives more powerfully, and it says, oh, okay, let's go on a date, and we can go on as many dates as we want. We're going to enjoy each moment because there's something beautiful to learn from every experience. From soul to soul. Your exchange, which was your full spectrum. You got the whole.
Somebody guys a tiny time ago then.
Walk away. You're not going to be hanging out for people that know.
Half of people. It seems like you can mention this kind of stuff to people, and whereas maybe 10 years ago they would have been like, oh, no, I can't believe that. Now they're like, really? Oh, or wanting to talk about chakras or wanting to talk about beings or light beings or how we're being helped from outside, or it's just becoming more commonplace. Now maybe that's just the people that we're talking to mostly, but I feel that there's definitely something changing everyone at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. More and more people are kind of what you can call awakening or whatever, but what's happening is there's more and more people that are that inner knowing is filtering through, so when they hear it, it's not so strange. The mind may turn around, like even yourself. I mean, you heard a lot of stuff tonight, and I mean, the original response of the mind is going, holy shit, that's like a lot, and whatever else. But deep inside, you already know, and when you hear it again, it's going to make even more sense. But there's more and more people like that. But I mean, people that will deny all of this that we've just said, there's still a high percentage in comparison to the people that don't. But look at the difference. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. Yes, what I shared was a little bit more restricted. I mean, I'm not going to start talking about the same stuff I talk about now before, because it would be mind-blowing for people to a point where they would just think you're a nut and they would run away as far as possible because, they just couldn't conceive it. But now there's more and more conceiving. Even the one that doubts it and says, no, they're still intrigued to one degree. And second of it, when they leave from it, there's going to be so many other synchronicities that will take place that will align it. I had an incident with one person that was a very scientific, very broad type person that was into technology and so forth. And we had a chat, and I covered quite a few different things, not to the degree we're talking tonight by any means, but and at that one point it said, well, it's very intriguing what you said. I don't get it, but it's intriguing. But that same evening, that person met with a metaphysics that had the mathematic encodements to explain what I had just said to him. And all of a sudden it started to click. It doesn't mean they got it all, but it just started to create another opening. And this is how it works with anybody. And it doesn't have to be a mechanical encodement or anything like that, but there will be other synchronicities that will come about that will confirm what they already just heard and already what they knew inside. To the point that it's going to be a little harder to deny it, a little harder to kind of say, nah. You might say that response, the ego would say, nah, it's not. But the mind's going, wait a minute here. I remember something like this coming about. And I can kind of almost grasp it to the capability. I can see it. And, of course, the soul is going, yee, right here. That's it. Now I'm going to pump some more stuff to you. And, of course, it also stimulates the soul and removes veils and so forth. But so this is why it's replicating so quickly that there are so many people that are getting on board and much more interested. And you see how much more are drawn to it, because there's a nagging, or what do you call it? I don't know if that's the right word, but an urging inside, probably a better word, an urging within inside for more. And then when it's exposed to more, it might react right quickly just for the mind, and it just, this is great, but that knowing going, yes, that's what I wanted to hear. And that's the superconscious mind. And the conscious mind has gone, I'll take that in. I'll use it as part of my reference point. And the ego mind has just kind of been bent a little bit, pushed aside a little bit, and of course it can't deny it for too long because it's got other inputs. And it starts to change, regardless. And then, of course, people have been encoded and been activated too. So, in essence, depending on what state they're in, they're going to be able to grasp it more. I see the huge difference than when I started doing this 35 years ago. 35 years ago, my communication was very limited and with people. I didn't have many groups. It was all small little gatherings and so forth. Then I started doing more and more along the way. But again, the information was less limited, less, expansive than what I share now. And the soul, my soul that shares more and more because there's more receivers now. Sometimes I hear myself saying certain things because my soul is communicating. I go, wow, are people that ready that you're saying all of this? Because, it's covering topics and areas that I didn't expect it to be covering with a certain group when you're talking or whenever you're even doing on a show. I mean, like even tonight. I mean, we got into stuff that who intended to talk about this stuff? We were going to go there. This is kind of a show that you have to put aside and say, okay, let's take one little chunk of it and let's cover it. Tonight we got to play with a lot of different things. It merges and creates whatever. But in many cases, I'm just there and it merges with the other. It merges and creates whatever's necessary. And it leaves that sound imprinted in people's mind. But it merges the two, the flute and the guitar playing together, and it creates a new stream of music within whatever you hear. So, yes, it does leave an imprint, but that imprint merges and creates whatever is necessary for it, for the body and mind to utilize. So there's a gain, and it also leaves a certain level of consciousness, because the consciousness now is implanted in the subconscious mind, it's implanted in the conscious mind, and of course it's there for the superconscious, which is the soul when it returns, the one that's there, or any other one that comes in, because each one that comes in enhances the next. We'll all utilize it. As for the Akashic record, that is something that is, as we move along, dissolving too. Because we've gone into the moment and we are creating everything anew. We don't need the old records. So a lot of the records are being utilized to clear up whatever is left and then move on. I know somebody may disagree with me on that, but in actual fact, that is the case. So it's okay, you can disagree if you want. But in essence, the Akashic records will become obsolete and will dissolve completely.
Cool.
It's required to keep those records in, because you only utilize what the Akashic records were held when we were, streaming one lifetime to the next lifetime, carrying a record of what was finished, what wasn't finished, what was, done. But that is being all streamed through right now, and we are clearing everything.
Wow. And so then they'll just be all empty so that we can just manifest whatever it is we're manifesting?
Yes. Yes, you just carry the consciousness, you carry the new level of knowing and the new essence that you are, and you create everything new. This is about all wiping everything out and starting new. It's not about history any longer. That's why letting go of the past is very prevalent. And the letting go of the past is not just the past that you had in this lifetime. It's the past of all lifetimes. And it's not just so much a letting go. It is completing it and letting it go.
Mm-hmm.
Getting whatever you needed to get from it and let it go. Now, the beauty in all of this, as you're doing this, you will notice that you don't need to go through it all, because in essence, if your record, Akashic record, has 10 items, for example, it will scan through it and pick the item that is the most prevalent. Within that experience, it may be enough to complete 5 other items that were on there, on the Akashic record, as left behind to be completed at some point, or to use as a reference point, because a lot of times the Akashic records are used as a reference point to stage the next. Now it doesn't want to do that any longer. Souls don't utilize it anymore, and the human condition is redesigned completely. So, the Akashic records held more than just the human condition. It held all different experiences. But in essence, you'll see that the vaults get emptied. The records get cleared up.
Wow. That's so exciting.
So intense. Oh, my God.
I love it.
Isn't that great? So,
wow.
Is this why, I'm just going to come in on this, Franco, because I know it's like nearing the end, and this is just like too fascinating for words. But is this why we don't really need to understand the stuff to let it go? I mean, so that's what I'm hearing you say, is that with the Akashic records kind of being dissolved, that's something, is that connected to the timelines that were essentially dissolved? Wasn't there like a lot of different timelines or parallel existences that were sort of collapsed?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
See, the thing is, with the Akashic records, there's a reason why it was created in the first place, okay? But it was created at different levels of consciousness. So in essence, you don't have to understand why you did something, for example. You did something at that particular time, in that was kept in the record, because that was the consciousness, the capability, the energies, the whatever was there to support that particular experience. We are in a very different place now. And so to understand why you killed 10 people that's left in Akashic record, for example, does not matter. That was a role that was played. And it's not that you need to balance it even for the soul, because the soul doesn't even use that anymore. You're not even in a karmic grid in the first place. That's the other thing. I mean, which wasn't, you do in this lifetime, you got to pay in the next lifetime. It was really a balancing point. And the Akashic record was also a record to keep balance or to create, variety, per se. Okay. So there's different purposes and different understandings of what role they played, right? So when somebody's helping somebody go through the Akashic records, they're bringing up old experiences, old things. It served to a certain degree at one point because it was kind of something you needed to access because we were still playing in a world of polarity, in a world where, we had the karma, we had all other stuff. But that has all changed now. And it's not, the decision was made as a group when we're saying the collective souls, to redesign something completely new and not to use anything as an old past reference point. So if a lesson had to be learned, it now brings it to real time. And we've talked about that before, everything brought to real time, into this time that we are now. So that's why we don't have the different timelines, because the timelines are all collapsing and collapsed for a while. So we're on a fluid timeline. That means this timeline is created moment by moment, regardless. Now, some people say, well, how come it seems so rigid and it's not new? It's because we just keep repeating the patterns, but eventually we'll break the patterns anyway. So it's like we have a clean slate, but we keep drawing the same picture. But in essence, we're wiping it out, and as we are evolving, of course, in the consciousness expands, the form of drawing changes. And just as an analogy, I'm hoping I'm not confusing anyone. I'm trying to find words that people can understand and, analogies people can understand.
I think it's great.
It's clear, but it's not always clear for everybody.
Listen, even for me, I'm running, the show and running the show, you know what I mean? I'm the facilitator here, and sometimes it's going over my head. So I think it's not always easy for us to stay with this level of information, even if we want that. We want to know, but it is like people are saying, oh, my mind is boggling. It's everything you've been talking about tonight is like mind-blowing, mind-expanding stuff. So obviously we're asking for this, and I think it's really good. Yeah.
Not to get caught up in trying to understand it all. It will become clearer and clearer along the way.
Okay. Well, that is just that.
That is awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Stay tuned for this Saturday's show, Diamondsforever31 show, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, November 1st on the Diamonds line here. And that live number is 209-255-1000, pound, pin 883267, Also, on that same day, later on in the afternoon, November 1st, is a round table where I will be a guest, Tole with the Andromedan Council, Ray Kozlovlak with 32 ET contacts and his father and grandpa too, Laura D. Eisenhower, President Eisenhower's granddaughter, and Teresa. And we're going to be on a round table hosted by an awesome couple, Jan and her husband, from Hawaii. So I'll give you that link, and that's Aquarian Radio. Aquarian Radio. I'll spell that. AQUARIAN Radio. Aquarian Radio. Go to Blog Talk Radio. Put in the search bar Aquarian Radio, and you should find it with Janet Kira Lesson and her husband. It's also on, let's see, Franco, we just did a call with Franco and Julian Wells with the Palladians and Franco, and that was awesome. That's reference number 173, pound. And then the last call we did with Franco is 167, pound. Reference if you're interested. And also you can find other calls and other Franco calls on iqdcalls.com, iqdcalls.com. That's calls with an S.com. So you guys have a great evening, and if you want to email me, it's diamondsforever31 @yahoo.com. Don't forget to check out the Diamonds blog for all your awakening world changes going beyond awakening. Diamonds with an S, forever31.blogspot.com. I'll see you Saturday, November 1st, 1 p.m. Central. Bye for now.